Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Ullman,
I'm Bernard.
I'm Trish.
and today we'll be playing the third part of Bernard's auto-RPG, Skies of Arcadia, covering up to the events in the Temple of Pyren. But before we get started, how was everyone's week?
My week was all right. I've got something sort of exciting going on in my life, but you, dear listener, don't get to hear about it.
Oh,
Rip.
I'll tell the two of y'all afterwards if y'all want to hear, but it's a secret,
oh.
sort of. Other than that, I've just been going to work. I haven't even been playing any interesting video games other than ones I talk about on podcasts.
Oh.
I had basically nothing sort of week, but today has been a fucking day. So it is Summer and her boyfriend's 1 year anniversary this weekend. And so to give Summer a break, she is out of the house the whole weekend. She left yesterday and won't be back until tomorrow night, which normally is fine. Summer has had 2 week-long hospital stays within the last year, in which I did fine for 7 days. But for some reason today, the kids have just been turning up and exhausting and everything. And then Storm got sick right after dinner with real bad cough and sniffles and such. And so the kids were having a sleepover in their room, watch a movie on the iPad in bed and whatnot, and he left that to come and sleep pathetically on my shoulder. So I gave him some Vicks Vapor Rub and he fell asleep and things were great, but then he woke up miserable, and I was like, oh, do you want some medicine? And he was like, no medicine. And I was like, yeah, let's get you some medicine so you can feel better and knock yourself out and go to sleep. But the moment it touched his throat, it made him vomit, and he threw up all over the living room and my room and the bathroom. And now he seems to feel great. He got whatever was making him feel bad out of him, and he's happy-go-lucky and laying in bed. But it has been a rough last couple of hours.
Sometimes you just gotta throw up across 3 rooms.
You got to.
That makes you feel better.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the rest of my week was pretty chill. I did finally start playing Metal Gear Solid, and I'm doing okay. I'm not doing great, but I was able to get through. So the part that I got stuck on, both times I started trying to play Metal Gear Solid, was just the fucking second room where they introduce security cameras to you, the tank hangar or whatever. For some reason, that room I could not make it through. I just would get seen and would get swarmed and killed, and I couldn't do anything. So I now have taken out Revolver Ocelot on the original PlayStation version, so I didn't just snipe him from across the room. But I am currently fighting Vulcan Raven. So as soon as I get through half of it, y'all will get an episode. But I'm real bad at this game, so no promises on when that'll happen.
But Revolver Ocelot is, if I recall correctly, the big early game hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
He's hard.
Yeah, he wasn't that hard for me. I am playing on the pitifully easy. That's why I was fretting, because I was like, if I can't beat this game on pitifully easy, how do we make an episode about it? But I stopped sucking that bad, and so I was able to just keep running behind them and take off some pot shots and not get got. So we'll see how it continues. But yeah, that's all I did this week. What about you, Trish?
I guess kind of got two things. First of all, more of a thing that's in progress right now. Tonight is my second to last night of work. Since I mentioned before, I'm doing the whole moving thing. That means, leaving this job, and I'm looking forward to that. no offense to the hotel industry or this hotel in particular, but I'm just done. Very much ready to step back from it.
Mm-hmm.
And then in actually like positive good news, um, so I don't believe I ever mentioned this on the podcast. Me and my sister do a thing been doing it off and on for years now of reading books to each other as a way to kind of like share the experience of a prose novel.
That's cool.
Um, I was reading Stormlight Archive to her. Sadly, that ended up fizzling out because she kind of lost interest in Stormlight Archive, which makes me sad. But I
Boo.
understand it's not for everyone. But she was reading to me, and she's still reading to me October Day, which is the October Day series is a very fun series of urban fantasy detective novels. I basically think of them as the Dresden Files series, but what if written by a woman, and the main character is a woman, and it's gay and feminist.
Nice.
They're very fun. So I'd had an idea recently. For those who don't know, I write fan fiction. I had an idea for a fanfic, ended up working on it, putting out. Kind of had blown through any writer's block I had, and just a storm of creativity with it. Put out a chapter, and it led to a invitation to a fandom specific Discord server, and everyone there's been super nice. And it's just been like a lovely little, oh, cool. This is like, I don't usually get into like fandom specific communities like this, or haven't in a long time. And it's a very small fandom, and they all seem to be pretty chill, at least on this server. So that's been really fun.
Nice.
Shout out to the October Day Discord server. Not official or anything, but you know.
That's awesome. I love when you can get into like smaller fandoms like that. Like I joined the Homestuck Discord and promptly left.
I imagine
left.
that's a. I imagine that's a thing.
Yeah, I promptly left it because it just was very overwhelming. It was the text version of being overstimulated, and
I mean, isn't that the Homestuck experience?
That's true, but yeah. So I love when you can find a bunch of like-minded people, and there's only dozens of you. Like I am fairly active on Tumblr, not like a lot, but like middle amount of active for the Eighth Doctor fandom. And there are literally dozens of us, and all of us only reblog each other's posts, and it's fantastic.
Wait, are you telling me you're another Eighth Doctor fan? I was not aware of this.
Oh my god, we tried to replace a Maddie, and we accidentally just doubled a Sam. This is now a Brandon Sanderson and Eighth Doctor podcast.
Yes! Paul McGann reigns supreme!
Bye.
I still... When I...
This has been Bernard's last episode.
No. I will say I will not continue Eighth Doctor talk, except to just say, when I played through the Dragon Age series for the first time, and I played... and I was talking to Alistair in that series, I was convinced that was Paul McGann, because the voice actor's voice sounds identical to Paul McGann's Eighth Doctor. It is uncanny.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, small fandoms rule, as you just heard happen live. But yeah, anything else that happened to you before we talk about a video game? That's basically
it. Let's talk about a video game.
Dope. So let's listen to some Skies of Arcadia music, and then we will talk about the plot for the week. All right, take it away, Bernard.
No.
Okay.
Weiss and Ika say goodbye to Weiss's parents. Fina says that according to the ancient legends, there's a moon crystal in the lands under each of the moons. The nearest ones would be the yellow moon crystal in Valua and the red moon crystal in Nasr. They've got no chance of getting back into Valua right now, but with the harpoon cannon on the Little Jack, they should be able to get through the rock reef thing, blocking their access to Nasr. Drachma says they've been standing around too long, so our heroes board the Little Jack and set sail for Nasr. And adventure. As they fly over Nasr, Ica marvels at the expanse of the desert. She says she's heard that the Nasr deserts are so hot that if you walk around too long, your hair catches on fire. They banter for a bit, then Fina gets them back on track and says the red moon crystal should be buried deep within the ancient temple of Pirin, which is how I'm going to pronounce it, not whatever way Sam pronounced it.
I pronounce it Pyrin because pyrotechnic. And it's a fire temple.
God damn it, that makes sense.
You can pronounce it however you like. It's a fake made-up word with too many letters in it.
But I hate when you're correct about something.
About literally anything.
Ica's thrilled by the idea of looting an ancient temple. She asks Fina what she'll buy first if they find a bunch of treasure. Fina's like, what is buy? Ica's like, are you a communist or something? Anyway, they stop in the nearby port town of Maramba to resupply before heading for the temple. However, as our heroes step onto the pier, they realize Drachma didn't come with them. The Little Jack starts sailing away! They call after it, but Drachma just looks down on them from the deck and says he's got to go after Rocknum and he can't keep babysitting them forever. Drachma has left the party!
This motherfucker. But also, it's not a surprise at all.
Yeah. Our heroes decide to explore the town and see if they can find someone who will let them use their ship. Eventually, they find themselves resting in a tavern where a traveling dancer is performing. Vice can't keep his eyes off the dancer, much to Ica's frustration. When she confronts him, he says it would be impolite not to watch her performance, and that he thinks she's looked over here a few times. Ica's like, what, you think she likes you? Fina, talk some sense into this blockhead. Fina says Vice is very attractive, and it wouldn't be weird for the dancer to think so too. They're such good friends. The dancer approaches them and asks if they're those air pirates she's heard about who broke out of Valua. Vice is like, yep, we sure are. No reason to hide that information. She says she's heard they need a ship, and she's willing to help them. Ica is suspicious of her, but the dancer just says that anyone who can break through the Valuan Grand Fortress interests her. She introduces herself as Belina and tells them to meet her at the docks the next morning. That night, we see Drachma flying the Little Jack. I can't say little today. We see Drachma flying the Little Jack. He shakes off second thoughts about leaving our heroes behind, but then he sees what looks like a Valuan ship skirting the other side of the reef. Uh-oh. We cut back to our heroes the next morning. They meet Belina at the dock next to her ship. Ica presses her about why she wants to help them. Belina says her father was a soldier. Her family struggled to get by, but they were happy until 20 years ago when Valua and Nasr went to war. Her father died in combat, and her mother died soon after. Belina was alone and scared. She had to fend for herself on the streets. Ever since then, she's hated war. So many people die, and so many families are torn apart. That's why she wants to help our heroes. Ica apologizes for being skeptical and says she lost her parents too when she was young. Our heroes board Belina's ship and head towards the Temple of Pirin, a giant ancient structure. When they arrive, Fina says they'll find the moon crystal inside, but it's guarded by monsters. There's a cute scene where our heroes bicker for a bit. Belina says watching them makes her happy because they're such good friends.
They're such good friends. They're a couple of gal pals and whatever the boy equivalent of gal pal is.
Yes.
Boy toy, as we
Boy toy?
established last
I
week.
think, yeah, we did establish. I didn't want to reuse it, but yes, they're boy toy. The gal pals and their boy toy. Captain Boy Toy over here.
Belina mentions that she doesn't have anyone special in her life. Well, there is someone she's in love with, but he wouldn't give her a second look. It must be DeLoco. Oh shit, that spoils the twist. That's totally a twist.
It spoils the twist that DeLoco fucks.
No, he specifically doesn't. That's why he won't give her a second look.
I mean, I will say, I knew immediately she was obviously going to be bad. I didn't guess that she would be who she turns out to be. That was at least a little bit of a surprise to me, but still. I thought she was going to be another pirate, like
That
one
makes
of the
sense.
black pirates.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, Belina tells our heroes to go have their adventure while she waits with the ship. Our heroes head through the temple, which is a great dungeon. It's got
so
everything. Traps, puzzles, treasure, boulders, that thing where you dump water onto lava so it turns into rock so you can walk across it. Anyway, eventually our heroes reach the deepest part of the temple, where, naturally, there's a boss. And it's hard!
It was the fireworm thing, right?
The rockworm.
Yeah,
Worm spelled with a Y.
It's funny. It's a rockworm spelled with a Y, and it is definitely not a worm spelled with a Y. It is definitely a worm spelled with an O. It is straight up a worm, not a dragon worm. But worm. But yeah, it hit me pretty freaking hard. I had just unlocked level 2 ice on everybody, so it wasn't impossible, but he still hit like a fucking truck, and I did not properly heal during one of my rounds, and it felt like he would do like regular attack, the like acid spit attack, and then the big ass fire attack. It felt like it was a pattern. Then he did it twice in a row and killed Fina, but it was close enough to death that I got him on the next turn. But then Fina didn't get the thousands of experience that she needs as a level 10 at that point or whatever.
Well, yeah, the rockworm's big fire attack like does half of everyone's health, which is a lot to deal with, and it can do it a lot. And its regular attacks aren't too bad, but one of them can petrify you, which is bad.
Yeah, it's a very difficult boss, and I don't know if either of you have gotten one of these. I feel like I might need to specifically go into green magic more, hoping that I'm able to get this. But the there's no multi. I don't have a multi heal, and so if I want to heal everyone up after it hits us all for 500 damage, I need to go in and waste a round with everyone healing themselves. And so it's so much of this boss fight is just not doing anything because you're just recovering from what it just did to you. Yeah, last week I managed to get through all the bosses without like needing to retry or anything. This week this boss I restarted on like 3 times, and then I was like, okay, what am I gonna do here? And then I looked at a guide because I was like, okay, is there some secret strategy or something? And what I found was, hey, just so you know, you should definitely get some healing items if you don't have some on hand, because you're going to go straight from this fight to 2 more boss fights. And I went, fuck, really? Because I have no healing items. So I went back through the entire dungeon again, and I found a bunch of stuff I missed the first time in terms of treasure chests. So yeah, I had left the dungeon, went back, refilled on things, and then went back through it again. So I ended up getting a bunch of more levels and new equipment and things, and that definitely helped. But it's still such a ridiculously hard boss fight. Yeah. No, this one's, I think, easily the toughest one in the game so far.
Yes.
I don't have a multi-heal either. However, Fina does have a special move that can put regenerate on everyone, which was very important in me beating this boss. It heals 200 HP per round. However, it goes away if someone dies or is petrified, which made it hard to maintain.
Yeah. I stopped at the Traveling Merchant, which is a new thing that we can do this week, and he had crystals, which are the level 2 ice spell that don't cost any SP. So I had a lot of those, and that made overall this week be pretty easy. But I found out that I had been rolling lucky RNG on my Pyre box that I had been using as a free board clear for all of my random battles, because they last depending on the higher levels spells can break more often, but the lower level ones get you like 10 to 12 uses. I had gotten like 30 uses out of my Pyre box, so I just thought it could go forever. I didn't know it would break. But then my Crystallis boxes all broke the fight before the boss, so I had to actually use my MP, which then meant I had no MP for the 2 follow-up bosses. And trying to do use MP items in a pirate ship fight is stupid and basically impossible. So that was not good fun. I got through this boss pretty easy, but it made me lose the next boss fight like 20 times.
Yeah, it's hard.
Speaking of the next boss fight,
after the boss, our heroes find the moon crystal. Yay! Fina says it's the most concentrated form of energy you'll ever see, with the power of tens of thousands of moonstones. They collect the moon crystal, then a secret passage opens up, leading right to the entrance. Convenient. Our heroes step out of the temple and greet Belina. She asks if she can see the moon crystal. Vice is like, I don't see why not. You're not a villain after all. Belina takes the moon crystal and says, actually, I am a villain. Valuan soldiers appear. Belina tosses up a veil, and when it falls, she's somehow in full military uniform. She was wearing it under her revealing dancer outfit.
That part made me cackle because it's so stupid.
It's so silly. The only thing that made it slightly like was the listen, the silliness of the going from less clothes to more clothes, the clothes reveal is hilarious. But I can't tell, considering like the theming of the whole disguise she was doing. I can't do an exact color matching to compare, but it feels like her skin also got lighter when she revealed her true self, and has not great implications, but
Yeah. Could have been like a magical disguise or something, but
could have been.
It
yes.
It definitely looks like she took off her veil and revealed a full military regalia underneath her lace veil that we could see through.
Yes.
I googled Skies of Arcadia Bellezza to try and determine if that's a thing. I think it is a thing. Also, I'm seeing some very fan art of Bellezza, so be careful Googling that.
Google responsibly.
Anyway, Belina reintroduces herself as Bellezza, 4th Admiral of the Imperial Armada. Our heroes have been fooled. They've been played like a fiddle. Fina asks if everything she said about her childhood was a lie. Bellezza says no, she never lied. Her father was a Valuan soldier who lost his life in the Valuan-Nasr War. She became a soldier to put an end to all wars, so nobody has to go through what she went through. She says if the world was united under one rule, there'd be no more war. That's why Valuan needs the power of the Gigas. Bellezza places the moon crystal in a pedestal and calls on the red Gigas Recumen to awaken. She commands it to kill our heroes. Bellezza and her soldiers retreat as a gigantic 4-headed monster robot thing emerges from the sand. Our heroes try to run away, but Fina trips like an idiot. One of Recumen's heads is about to fire a deadly laser. Is this the end for our heroes? But then something hits the head and knocks it off target right before the laser fires. It was cannon fire from the Little Jack. Drachma calls on our heroes to climb aboard, quick. Drachma has joined the party. Bellezza receives a report that the air pirates have been rescued. She tells her soldiers to ready the Lynx so they can make sure they don't escape. Our heroes try to fight Recumen in the Little Jack, but it's not working. It's just too strong.
And it's every time.
It probably will be every time, because there's probably going to be more Gigas fights, and it's probably going to be every time. Eventually, they retreat and decide to attack Bellezza's ship so they can force her to stop the Gigas. The Little Jack faces off against Bellezza's flagship, the Lynx. It's a tough battle, but with superior speed and the harpoon cannon, which I don't know why the Valuan ships don't have the harpoon cannon, because it's Valuan technology and it's fucking powerful. The Little Jack wins.
That fight against her ship specifically is one that I was like looking. I was like, yeah, you really should have made sure to get us like the secondary cannons, because that makes this fight very manageable. And I went, well, I didn't get those.
Yeah, they don't really tutorialize the fact that there's a new type of cannon that you really should get.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to the shop, when you go to the ship part shop for the first time on Sailor's Island, the guy's like, hey, by the way, there's this thing called a secondary cannon. It's very useful. And I nodded my head and went, sure, thanks, but I'm not going to get any.
Yep.
Yeah, I got one and they suck. They suck pretty fucking bad, actually. I hated it.
Are you making them go into the second turn?
Yeah. The second turn it does like 100 damage.
Well, I think the idea is supposed to
more
be
firepower into one turn, which can be useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have those turns where you get like critical damage, and so if you make it so regular and secondary cannons both go off at the same time,
they're
more useful.
I just always felt that like it wasn't enough to like care about
Make a difference.
And just doing a full non-critical cannon the turn before plus the critical of the other would make it do better. But I'm guessing there will probably be boss fights that are like only vulnerable on one turn, and so you can't do it that way. But for this one,
there was one this week when you're fighting Recumen, you're supposed to concentrate firepower on one turn so that you can knock its head off balance.
Yes.
Yeah, because if you do that, then it just doesn't hit you.
Yeah, but I was stupid in other ways on that one, because nowhere did it say you have a higher initiative than the boss. So on the turn you do it, you will do it before he fires. They say do it before he fires, and I was like, okay,
I know what you mean.
I can read the UI. The red is when he's going to fire, so I'm going to shoot on one spot before the red and put all of my stuff there, and then do evasive action on the one where he fires, and died to the force loss, run away from the fight boss.
Cool.
Yeah, that's me. I shouldn't be allowed to host a podcast about RPGs because I'm really bad at them.
We'll just talk about games you aren't really bad at, like Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
As the Lynx crashes into the sand, the Little Jack receives a message that Bellezza is calling off the Recumen. It sinks into the sand. Yay! And it's weird, they just say it happens like it's some sort of Star Trek hailing frequencies deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they're using some sort of semaphore or something. But it feels weird.
Yeah.
A bit odd. But I think it's worth it for the scene you get afterwards.
Anyway, our heroes meet Bellezza in the desert below. They take back the moon crystal. Bellezza says villain shit at them about how they've won the battle but won't win the war. Our heroes decide to discuss their next move then and there, while an enemy agent is standing right next to them. Fina says they should go past the South Ocean to the continent under the green moon. Vice is shocked to hear there's a continent there. Bellezza's like, yeah, it's called Ixa'taka, and our soldiers are already there. Bellezza says they'll never make it through the headwind of the South Ocean anyway. Draka's like, if we take your ship's engine, we can. Beletza asks how she's supposed to escape the desert. Ika's like, not our problem. As our heroes turn to leave, Beletza tells Vice, you win this time, but Valua is more powerful than you can imagine, and the trip to Ixa'taka is long and perilous. The chance that you'll survive long enough to get there is pretty slim. Are you sure you still want to go? You still have time to reconsider. Vice says hero shit about not fearing the unknown. Beletza smiles and says she hopes he survives long enough for them to meet again. The little Jack takes off, leaving Beletza behind. Next week, our heroes will set sail for the continent of Ixa'taka and adventure.
Yay.
Yay.
So yeah, let's listen to some more Skies of Arcadia as we try to vamp for a while to make this episode worth it. Yeah, pretty short plot-wise week, but that dungeon was beefy and good. So that's my memorable moments.
Beefy dungeon with triple boss fight at the end.
Yeah.
Also, there is just a ton of dialogue this week. This week it reminded me a lot of Trails with just how there's a ton of really good dialogue that's really characterful and really fun. And sure, a lot of the scenes probably could be cut down, but I wouldn't want them to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely agreed. It's a thing of like, I'm sure there are people who would look at that as like fat that could be trimmed, but the fat is marbling. It's it's there for the flavor. It's there to make you enjoy these characters. I mean, just to sell the atmosphere of what this game is going for. It's trying to be a fun romp, and it is. These are very likable characters who have a really great chemistry with each other. Even when silly things like them getting tricked by the obvious bad guy happens, it's fun because it's not like trying to be like, oh, you should be taking this extremely seriously. It's being silly. It's having fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of like, when you describe in the after you defeat, oh my gosh, name, I'm double check her name now. Beliza, when you defeat Beliza and everything, you said she says villain shit, and I don't disagree necessarily, but I really love the dynamic of that scene because it's like she is, she's still evil, she's still working for the Valiant Empire, but it's a very friendly enemy vibe. Like the protagonists aren't like they aren't, aggressive and angry at her, and she's not like holding the loss against them. They're both basically just like, well, you won this time. Oh well. I guess we'll meet again sometime though, and we'll hash things out again then too. And I really enjoy the way they carry that friendly dynamic where it's like, yeah, she betrayed you and raised this super weapon, but water under the bridge. And it was a very good feeling to me. Like it was a fun scene. And as a character, I think she works more than I thought she would, because she does not feel like she has a lot of ill will toward the protagonists. She is just doing what she thinks is right, and what she thinks is right is kind of ridiculous, but still.
Yeah, and her flirty dynamic with Vice is sort of fun if you don't think about the fact that he's 17 and she's 27.
Yeah, as long as you don't think about that.
Which, that's... Yeah.
Yeah.
But and he's already got 2 girlfriends. I don't think he can handle a third.
Not with that attitude.
Not with that attitude. Yeah, unlike me, he cannot handle 3 girlfriends. Also, just that line where at one point when she reveals herself, she's like, "Sometimes a little trickery goes a long way," and Vice says something to the effect of, "You tricked us." I was like, "Yeah, Vice, pay attention."
Also, I like how she changed one letter of her name when like
Right?
that isn't like going to be a good way to disguise her name, but also like she doesn't really need to disguise her name at all because they don't know her.
Yeah, we saw it in an omniscient narrator scene. They don't know shit about shit.
And even when she says, Lord Galcian will be very pleased, we have to remember, I don't think they've learned Galcian's name. Of course, it's obvious that she's doing some villain shit when she says something like that, so of course they're shocked, but I don't think they know who Galcian is.
I think they do. I think there was someone who said that Lord Galcian's flagship was the one that attacked their thing. I think they would.
Dine said that flag, it's Galcian, when he was on Pirate Isle, but
We weren't
no one
there at
else
that point.
they weren't there. That's the only time I can think of it.
Yeah.
Maybe he introduced himself when they met on the train.
Yeah. Let me see. I have
It
the
doesn't
Let's Play
matter.
pulled up. Yeah, it definitely does not matter. Yes, he introduces himself.
Cool.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Ah.
I'm just wrong about everything this episode. This is not the usual dynamic.
No, it's a historic episode. But though, to ease your frustrations, I was also wrong. I also said that they heard it at Pirate Isle, which is not where they heard it. So
Okay.
yeah, at least we were both wrong. It like you being wrong twice an episode is a lot, but me being right twice an episode would be untenable.
True.
Only other kind of memorable moment thing I have is the Death's Head enemy in the dungeon. He's like not only like kind of like one of the more difficult, if not the most difficult random enemy you're gonna fight in there, but also just creepy as hell. Because it's a dead body with an insect wrapped around it, controlling the dead body.
Yep.
I don't think I fought one of those.
I mean, there were also enemies that looked like that in the Valiant Catacombs. So if you haven't seen any of those after 2 dungeons of them appearing, that's really weird.
Yeah, I don't think I have.
I don't think I saw this in the catacombs, but there it's been a couple weeks, so I might have forgotten.
Oh, I saw. I was scrolling through to try and find one of those enemies in the Let's Play, and I saw something that was a memorable moment that I'd forgotten about. So in the town, it's separated into 2 chunks for some reason, and you have to rent a beast of burden to ride across the hot sand to get to the other side because it's too hot to walk across. There are underground tunnels that lead from side to side. The guy doesn't charge you, but it's still like hilarious to me that they have this whole setup of, oh, you got to go ride a Abu Dhabi or whatever they're called, Darba or Duba or Darbu or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You got to ride one of those to get to the other side, and just some dude's house has a hole in it that can just come out of the well on the other side, like not even hidden.
Yeah.
But
There
yeah.
Was the weapons merchant in that town says, if you talk to him, he says that when his father was running the shop, the Value and Nasir War happened, and his father hid their best weapons in the sewers under the city. But they're a terrible maze, and after the war ended, he couldn't find them again. And I was like, okay. And then when I went in the sewers, I got the fuck lost. It Like, you have a map, but you have to press a button and then 2 gates swing to different locations, and there are other buttons with different gates, and I'm terrible at that shit.
I managed to figure it out, but it was a pretty difficult one of those kind of puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
I just wandered. Eventually, I got out.
Mm-hmm. There
You
was
say that like it's this traumatizing incident. Eventually, I got out.
there was something else. I really liked the puzzles in this dungeon. The rolling around on big colored cylinders to make them hit the right switches. They weren't necessarily hard. I only had to redo one of them because I accidentally walked onto a thing and dropped it in a hole. But they still were fun. They were the right amount of puzzle for a dungeon in an RPG where it stops you for a second, you think about it for a second, you do it, and you feel really cool, even though it's not necessarily hard or whatever. And
I'd agree.
I
Good brain teaser.
mm-hmm.
I especially like the one where it has the complication of the 2 different colors that you have to get into the right ones, and then
Mm-hmm.
also the things are like lowering and raising every time you move one.
I like that one a lot. I also really like just in general, and it came out a lot this week, that like you have spells and magic items, and in most games that give you both, magic items are just a waste until you're like your mage dies in the middle of your boss fight and you're just like freaking out because you're in a horrible JRPG spiral, and you're like, oh look, I have a grenade, I guess I'll throw a grenade, and it does enough fire damage to kill the ice boss or whatever. But you never like plan a fight around grenades unless you're speedrunning or whatever. But this game, it's like, oh no, MP is very, very scarce and very hard to refill because your ethers do 1 MP at a time. So yeah, if you go and buy a lot of magical boxes, you should use those to deal with everything instead of wasting your magic, because you're going to need your magic to come in for clutch heals and stuff. And it's a different way to think about fights that doesn't normally happen. It's either all items like in Legend of Dragoon, or it's no items like in a Final Fantasy. And this one is both MP and items feel equally important.
Did either of you get enough moonberries to get oh gosh, I'm forgetting her name. Priestess girl.
Fina.
Fina. I'm so bad with names today. To get Fina's second super move. Oh no, I think it's her first. Sorry, her first super move. Actually, it's just the one that's more expensive. The big regeneration one.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was so useful in that boss fight.
Absolutely.
It's like, yeah, does it take 12 SP? Yes, but ooh, that's so clutch for a boss fight.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Speaking of magic, this week we can finally get a revive spell. And
Yay!
You're like, hey, a revive spell, that's going to be very useful. But guess what, motherfucker? This is Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
This spell has a 50% chance to fail. I love it.
It's so good. And it doesn't help that the only person that has silver XP when you start this week is the one who's level 1 and will probably die. So the person who gets it first will die.
Yep.
And so I wasn't ever able to use it because the person who I always needed to use it was the one who died.
I will say, so a funny thing with how I played the segment for this week is at the very start, instead of going straight to Sailor's Island or going to Nasr, I went immediately to the first dungeon. The
Shrine
I can't remember
Island?
Yeah, the Shrine Island. because I was like, oh hey, she has this thing where she can find this stuff that upgrades her guy. Maybe there's one in the old dungeon. I don't know, or maybe there's a moonfish I didn't, that was back in there, and there wasn't. There was no
There,
reason to go back there.
there is
But running,
actually. That's
oh,
probably
there
going to frustrate you a lot to learn.
a little bit. It does frustrate me a little bit. I will have to go get it again. But I was gonna say the fun thing about going through that area is it was such a low leveled area that the other two characters could take care of everything, and she was able to soak up enough experience that by the time I went to the area we were doing this week, she had enough levels that it wasn't like she would just instantly die at the start of a fight.
Mm-hmm. So I am playing on my Steam Deck, and the Steam Deck can handle playing the game at around 210%. The only problem is it also speeds up the music and sound effects, as I may have said last week. We couldn't remember if I said
You
it
did.
on mic or not. Okay. But
Wait, no, you did say it off mic, and I confirmed that, and I cut the part where you reference it.
yeah. So yeah, so I'm playing it at fairly high speed, and it's making the music and sound effects ridiculous. And for some reason, a flag waving in the wind sound when you get right under a flag, sped up so fast, sounds exactly like the little radar slime guy. I forget his name right now. Fina's
Cupel?
weapon. Yes, Cupel. Sounds
yeah.
exactly like a Cupel's thing going off. And so I'll just be walking by some house, and because I'm now right next to the house, it starts playing the flag sound effect. I'm like, shit, where could it be? And I'm running around in circles, wasting a bunch of time trying to find it. And then I'll come across a real one. I'm like, they sound nothing alike. And then I forget that 5 minutes later, and I'm hunting around underneath a flag again.
You could just not play sped up all the time.
I would love to, except I get one shot at this, and it's on Saturday morning. And so if I don't, I every time I have finished at like noon on Saturday morning before we record. But just in case, I would rather get through it and be able to talk about everything. I've also been spoiled by all of these re-releases of old games that have a speed up function. So
Yeah.
normal running
brain.
speed is bad. Yeah.
Meanwhile, I changed up how I've been playing it this week because it was so I wasn't able to play it at work because I've been playing it on my GameCube controller, and I have discovered previously that like sitting on a laptop at work is fine, but if a guest shows up and looks in the window and sees me on my headset or sees me with a video game controller in my hand, suddenly I'm unprofessional. So I finally decided to screw using the GameCube controller this week, and I mapped keyboard controls on, and I've just been playing it using the keyboard. And wow, that definitely actually just helped so much because there was so much jank going on with how the USB controller was working for some reason. That really helped and meant I was able to get more of it done. And hey, maybe that means this week I can spend time not just doing the main story stuff, but I can actually do what I want, which is like I want to go explore stuff and discover things. That would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Did either of you fight any of the either of the two optional bosses this week?
No, I want to.
Not yet.
The Let's Play showed one of them, which is one of the recurring optional bosses, and they're hot, so I want to engage with them in the game. And the other one is a cute little kid and his big buff bodyguard. And don't leave Desertland because you'll run into him there after you beat the temple this week. But I already left Desertland because I finished it fully knowing that's where we were stopping, but I just was playing a video game that I enjoyed and I forgot. So I made it through the South Sea already, but I might head back to fight the optional boss.
Yeah. If I had realized how short the notes would have been this week. I had played earlier, which usually I play early. I say usually as if there's been more than like 2 episodes. But usually I play early. But I lost my train of thought. God, I play early, but I didn't this week, so I didn't have time to do the optional bosses and see if they're worth talking about. There we go. Made it. Got through it.
Nailed
Sentence
it.
formed.
I've been diagnosed with ADHD. Did you know that?
I have
Yeah.
too.
Oh God, all of us.
Yeah, I briefly in 2020 saw a psychiatrist about it. They tried 3 different non-stimulant medications. None of them did anything for me. And then I received a bill for over $500 for the
Oof.
2 in office visits I did. And I said, "Well, I guess I don't have a psychiatrist anymore."
Yeah, that's a lot. But I can't think of anything else to say, so I think we're just gonna have a short episode this week.
I think that works.
Yeah. If you like what you heard, you can head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where you can donate to help us pay for hosting costs, game costs, and Adobe subscription costs. And in return, you can join one of 3 tiers. The Gadabout tier is everyone who pays $1 more a month. This gets you access to our Book Club no Kaseki episodes a month before everyone else, and it lets you vote on our polls whenever they go live. Then we have the Warrior tier for everyone who pays $5 or more a month, and the Warriors also get their name shouted out at the end of every episode, like this. Shoutouts to Floris, Kaldron, Freddie Rodriguez, Aaron524, Vimk, Jfro Prime, and Doho. And then finally, we have the Luminary tier, which is for everyone who loves us so much that they want to pay us $20 or more a month, where they not only get their name shouted out, but a 1-sentence shout out to make me say whatever they want. Shout outs go to Eliza Tantavi, who wants you to check out critical-distance.com, which is an aggregator for games criticism and journalism, and also to Carr, who is a dentist, so he's not shouting out a Twitch stream, but your own mouth, and he says to brush your teeth twice a day, most importantly, the time right before you go to bed. For RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm Bernard.
And I'm Trish.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bye.